That's why these things cost so much money.
I know this.
Okay.
In balancing, that's why we had $9 million.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item A4, Mr. Snow.
Mr. Snow's comment card reads, I would like to know more about this.
More about that. When you put that for the agreement. That's on the agenda.
It is on the agenda.
So the mitigation report was something that the city council received a couple weeks ago. We had staff go through the document just to make sure that all of the names and numbers were updated as best as possible, had correct names in their areas of expertise. So it's back to you just for the adoption. Kevin is here from Emergency if you want more information. If not, staff recommends adopting the attached resolution.
Okay.
I mean, if you can't cover the report, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item A5.
I'm sorry, I don't have a, yes, I do. Mr. Snow wants to know how much water we are using.
Quite a bit.
I know you got some. But one thing is, I know there's a lot of water, but I was wondering on the camera, like a lot of feedback response. When is it known between the sea county and all that, and I don't get into the cycle law on the beaches and parks and all that, but I'm wondering, would the city be work with the county? Because I know referencing that they can use 2 million cubic feet of water per day. So I know I pay a lot on my water bill. I just wanted to be, but I want if you guys ever thought about that. Thank you.
The cannery has their own well, and they pump their own water. Last year, during season, it's about 2 million, and the city uses a little more than 2 million a day also. Okay? Well, that's a different charge, and they do get charged. They do pay for it. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item A6.
Mr. Snow writes on A6, he would like to know more about it.
More about the item on the agenda. What would you guys' feedback? Yes. I think that's okay, but I was wondering. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item A7.
Mr. Snow would like to know more about A7.
What's the council? What do we guys think? What do you guys run the agenda? I mean, like, what change would you guys make, or would you make a change? That's one. The mayor and city manager and all that. That's all that's. It's just I was wondering. But thank you, and I think that's okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move forward to item C, public input. Members of the public may address the City Council on any matter within the City Council's jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Complete comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Speaker cards are available in the foyer and are to be completed and given to the city clerk prior to speaking. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing or taking action on any item which is not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, sir. The first speaker is Keith Snow.
getting council. The reason why I'm here, I'm glad that I joined the other meeting with the school. And like I said, that because at that school, the Gary and all, and it's good that we're doing that, but they didn't by doing construction. There should be the spots because they're kind of crowded. They should be organized the school district from like pre to sixth grade, have 7th, 8th grade for middle school, and something up at 9th, depending on where it is, the grading. And they put double wide trailers, but it's graded, and put like cement on top underneath it, and some that grass around that, fake grass around it. That's my deed to school, and that's pretty got attention. And I like the lot concerns for the public is the traffic control. And I wrote to Westwick, and we should do a little more traffic control because there is a lot of development at Fairview, the Nuance, and then right there. So we're gonna do like a more traffic control to create revenue. That's what I was asking you guys. And what you guys input in that part, about the cow car purchase and all that. And then the budget meeting I went to last, we're spending $79,000 for 911 calls. We're paying money on mats and the other projects we get into, and we should make a couple cuts to create that there to get more control of our city and create more firefighters and police officers. And about school thing, the Hardy Elementary, that's in Gary right there, that we should have a cafeteria that sense of elementary school because it's very difficult with the one weather coming up and stuff like that. There's lots of solutions. That's one. If you guys ever thought about doing a appeals committee, I'd like to start that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Reed Sanders representing Senator Anthony Canella.
What's that? Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'll just shout if need be. Well, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, members of the City Council and members of the public. My name is Reed Sanders. I manage the Salinas District Office on behalf of the California State Senate, representing your State Senator Anthony Canella's office. Tonight, I am here to present the Hollister Airmen's Association on the occasion of their 70th anniversary celebration with a certificate of Senate. You'll probably want to see the front end of Senate recognition. Here to receive this on behalf of the Airmen's Association is Ruth Erickson, the 2014 Senate District 12 Woman of the Year as chosen by Senator Canella. So, the Airmen's Association is established in Hollister since 1946, and they continue to serve today, and it is my distinct pleasure and privilege as a representative of the California State Senate to present the Airmen's Association on the occasion of their 70th anniversary with the Certificate of Senate Recognition. Congratulations. Thank you, Ruth. I'm going to cede the rest of my time to the
Thank you.
Association.
Well, first of all, on behalf of the Hollister Airmen's Association, I'd like to thank you for this recognition of our 70 years of serving Hollister Airport and many local organizations. We have many things planned for this year, including June 18th and 19th at the Hollister Air Show, and June 23rd at the Horse Show Parade, where we'll have an airplane on a float. We hope you'll all join us for these occasions and more coming. And I wanted to show you that we have our posters for the air show. And if anybody would like to have a poster for their business or their office, I have more. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sarah De Leon.
Good evening, City Council members, Mayor, Bill. I just wanted to let you know, City Manager Avra, sorry. Super excited to let you guys know that this week we will be releasing the EIR, draft EIR for the regional park, River Parkway. It'll be a 45-day comment period. I will be working with staff to mail out a half mile to every resident, half mile around, so that'll be a fun mail merge. I'm really looking for everybody's public input, not just any concerns about the analysis, but suggestions as well if there are concerns in specific areas. Have definitely been working with San Benito High School and look forward to proving to you guys our commitment to that park access road and a future regional park and river parkway over there. So just wanted to let you know, and I'll personally deliver that to the city manager.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Marty Richmond.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'd like to encourage you to adopt and approve the impact fees for the library. I understand it's an imperfect world and we never get caught up to be where we want to be on this kind of thing. But that's the way it goes. I mean, you can look at any impact fee we ever do. It's never caught up. We got a moving target. It changes all the time. And we're always lagging behind, whatever it is, a year, 2 years, sometimes 5. In this case, it's forever because I don't think we've ever had an impact fee for the library. So we're lagging behind forever. The trick to moving ahead is continuous improvement. I've made this pitch many times, especially concerning some of the programs we have, like the wayfinding signs, and you've heard my pitch before. We've been at this for years and years. We don't have any signs up because we want it to be all perfect. Well, I think you all know the government doesn't get all perfect. We never get to that point. And the minute we approve something, it might be perfect. 2 days later, things have changed. So we've got to start moving ahead somehow on the capital facilities of the library, even if it's an interim answer, even if the answer is trying to ask politely for the county education folks to leave the adjacent property or throwing them out, whichever is more appropriate, and taking over that property, because if we don't start building up, we won't. We talked about schools earlier today, and most schools anymore have given up on their libraries and their librarians. I think you all know that. And the idea is everybody's on the internet. Forget it. People who are poor, have language problems, and so on and so forth, they're not on the internet. Just because you carry a cell phone does not mean you go home and sit at your laptop all day long and work on it. It doesn't work like that. They need, thank you, they need access to the library more than anyone, because that's where they can find the reading materials, the literacy materials, the education, the training to help them in our very crowded schools, in the most crowded schools we have, and you heard that again this morning, are those that are in that area where R.O. Hardin is, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate it, and Ruth just handed me a thing that there's a giant book sale at the library on May 21st from 10 to 2. So bring your money and bring your books. But meanwhile, as far as the city goes, I think you ought to get on with it, adopt the impact fee. And if we have to change it and upgrade it in a year, we'd have to change and upgrade it anyway. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
There are no more speaker cards, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. We'll move forward to item D, City Manager's report.
I have nothing to report at this time.
All right, we'll move forward to item E41.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. This is the second reading for the adoption of the resolution 2016-42 weed abatement. And the recommendation is to provide for a hearing for the public nuisance of abatement and address any kind of concerns from the community.
Okay. Any questions from council? This time we'll open public comment. Do we have any speakers?
Keith Snow.
No, I really like to thank the council because there's a house, a big old acres, a lot of acres by my house. And but the owner cut it down. Now I got a problem with it when now to go get traps and all that because a little fuzzy critter was right by the house. But I want to see you guys. This proceed that weed abatement thing is working, and I have to thank the council and city manager. They guys are doing a good job on that part because, man, it's very concerning because when they're buying our fence, one little straight match can destroy the whole fence and do a lot of damage to my patio and all that. So I'd like to thank the council for what you guys are doing and about combo and wet trick and all that what you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have another
No.
comment card? Okay, at this time we will close public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2016-42
Is
and
a mo-
adopt Resolution 2016-42.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 4-0 vote. Move to item F51.
Good evening. This item is a resolution of intention to provide for a future annexation of territories relative to CFD number 2 and levy special taxes within the annexation territory. Essentially what has been occurred is CFD number 2 was going through a process that was unlike what we're doing for CFD number 4, which is the most current legal way to do things. So what this is doing is setting CFD number 2 up to go through the same process that CFD number 4 is. CFD number 2 is for the police and fire services, the budget analysis estimate is $423.42 per residential unit in revenue for each new residential unit that comes into this CFD number 2. This is just the intention to create an annexation. We're calling for a public hearing to be held on June 20th for the process. On June 20th, there will be actually three actions that we'll ask the council to do: hold a public hearing, adopt an ordinance, and approve the initial set of annexation. And then after that, then we'll be bringing a number of different subdivisions that need to be annexed into this CFD number 2. Any questions?
Do we have any questions from council?
Exactly what boundaries are on community facilities too? Is it
Well,
citywide?
Yeah, it will be the initial boundaries or initial area of future annexation is described as basically, well, it is the city limit line, and as the city limit line expands, then that will expand as well.
Okay.
The numbers we're looking at, I just have concern. We're talking about 400 and 4.5 for police and fire.
Police
Correct?
and fire. Right.
Now, I'm concerned be 423. If we know we're our police department alone, if we look at the 10,000 units that we have in the community currently in the city, and we have an idea that that budget should be closer to $8 million, that's much more than the $400, and that's not even including the fire department. When do we step back and take a look at this? Because I don't think this covers the cost, quite frankly, of running our police department and our fire department. And if we're going to be building new homes, I want to make sure this is absolutely covering the cost to run our department, so we're not always short staff. Where do these numbers come from? When were these looked at?
So, if I can help David out real quick. So, CFD number 2 was created in 1995. It had started out with at a base rate of $250, and the number that you're seeing right now at the 423 is essentially the CPI for all consumers as it increased on an annual basis in April from that particular time.
Right.
And I recall, Mr. Mayor, that you did ask us to take a look at revisiting or doing a new public safety study. We can expedite that a bit with. Can't think of the company. Who's our consultant?
DFA.
DFA. Yeah. I'm sorry. We can have I can have a conversation with Michael and DFA about what it would take to actually go through that process and either create what we might call a new CFD, what may be CFD 5, and any new annexations or any new projects after that's adopted would pay a different rate.
So if we adopt this tonight,
Well,
all these would fall into that,
yeah,
or
so,
would we wait?
Yeah, what staff recommendation would be is to adopt this tonight, have this implemented. If we work on a new CFD or a new public safety Melrose district, then that would then supersede what's going to happen, and we would annex those future annexations or future projects into the new district. Kind of like what we're doing now with CFD 4.
Yeah. And this action tonight is a resolution of intention and scheduling a public hearing. There'll be another, when we come back on June 20th, there'll be another actions that need to take place in order for it to be enacted. So there's calls for the public hearing.
But again, I guess my personal concern is why not just wait till we have the new numbers?
Well, this will make it for those subdivisions coming in now. We don't want to miss those, and so we want to have the subdivisions between now and when we get a new one in. We want to make sure we capture them, at least get something, as opposed to nothing.
Well, and again, I guess what I'm saying is, why don't we wait on approving anything further until we get the right numbers?
Because
why go through? Can we do that, or what is the issue?
then we would need to go to every homeowner in the development and ask them if they wanted to. Whereas when you do this expedited process, it is an easier procedure whereby the single owner can commit to it.
So going back, I understand that if they move in, but are these because they have already been approved and they're pulling permits to do this work, or are we moving forward to annex?
These are projects that are going to be annexed already in the process of their development, and they're getting their
Entitlements.
yeah.
They're getting their entitlements. So the issue is, and again, tell me if I'm wrong here, as I understood the conversation we had, that as long as the vote takes place before those homeowners are in there, we could take care of this issue. It's once the homeowners start moving in and they decide they don't want to pay the extra fee that it becomes the issue. Is that correct?
Optimally, you'd have it done before the final map.
Ultimately, we'd be charging a lot more. Those are my concerns. I want to make sure we're covering the cost, and we're not going to accept this number if it's not covering the cost. Is my question.
It's the staff's recommendation, engineer, city manager, myself, that this be enacted so that, the mayor is correct, but we don't want to make the situation where we miss out on collecting a fee that would address some of the impacts.
Okay.
So these
Questions?
are
Councilmember Front.
these are projects that are far enough along in the annexation process that were before the judge told us we didn't have an annexation agreement.
No, these are it's two different, we're using the word annexation in two different ways now. The annexation into the city limits is one thing. This is annexation into the district, CFD number 2 district. This action tonight is not actually putting numbers to projects that are in the process. It's the June 20th annexation, or the June 20th actions that will formally create the district and create the processes and this expedited process to get projects into CFD number 2. Like city managers stated that in order to go off and actually do collect much more, there would need to be a whole new study. Doing that is going to take some time, and if we do not get this process started, there will most likely be a number of projects that are missed and are not being aren't going to be included in CFD number 2. So we're trying to fill in we're filling in the gap. We continue doing this until we have CFD number 5 or another CFD in place to meet what you're talking about, Mr. Mayor. I believe Bill's heard that the process to get started will be talked about and begun. But this one is to make it easier for the existing CFD number 2 and projects to be annexed into it without difficulty.
Councilmember Flower.
What's the annual floater on this CFD? What's the percentage or the amount that it goes up every year?
Oh, the CPI, and it's been ranging about 2.8 to like 3.1. During the recession years, it was not very great at all. Obviously, I think we probably had a year with probably less than 1, actually.
Okay.
I think another point of clarification is that when the study is done, it looks at the cost of providing that new residence, police and fire services, not necessarily what we've been spending. Again, the new development and the folks that are being taxed or part of this fee, I believe, are just paying what their fair share is for that particular service, and not the $5 million that we're already spending.
Well, I understand, but their fair share adds up as
No.
every resident moves in, they're adding to the fair share.
I completely understand.
That's been our problem in the past. Councilmember Clark?
It is a problem, but I think another problem is that if you're looking at the cost of everything, is that you have the majority of the people, maybe not the majority, but a big percentage of the people who live here in town, their houses were built before 1995, and they're paying pennies on the dollar of what somebody else who moved in 95 later or later in a newer house. And that's to me probably a much bigger issue in terms of finances than this, but I don't think there's anything we can do about that at this point, or maybe ever. So
this isn't necessarily meant to be a CFD lesson, but I want to make the council aware that CFD number 1, the very first CFD, was put into place, I believe it was in 1993 or 4, and that actually had a 20-year sunset with no escalator. So we've been pulling houses off of that, which is even worse than
right.
So.
Well, it just seems to me like I don't understand why we need to fill the gap. If we don't allow this to happen, there's no gap. So why would we continue to develop and continue to let these people know? And we don't have a number to tell them what their fair share is. Until we have today's number, we can't tell them what the
There's a number of projects that already have tentative map approval with the Planning Commission in which the City Council really doesn't have an opportunity to deny those maps. Those are projects that that we bring to you when we approve a subdivision improvement agreement. The developers, if they wish, if they wanted to, they could actually build out the subdivision, come to you when everything is all said and done for just a real minor improvement agreement that would cover warranty bonds and such, without actually having a final map. Now, they wouldn't be able to get building permits. They basically would be grading and putting improvements on their own property. But they're projects that have already been deemed that be in substantial compliance with their substantial conformance with their tenant map, and would and have a vested right to continue and come to the council and get an improvement agreement approved and sell their houses. Once the final map is signed, and if everything's built out, they can. That's one way that a subdivider can do that. They don't do that because it's a big risk for them. We want to have bonds. They want to make sure they have maps that are approved and get their process much more condensed. So if we don't start the process and hold a public hearing on the 20th and approve that, I'm guessing there's probably about a couple, 200 or 300 lots that would not come into CFD number 2.
Again, I'm going to ask the question here. I want to make sure we're understanding this. If we're not issuing permits to start building, there's not the issue. It's only the issue as soon as the property is sold, now the property owner has a right to vote no against it, which creates the issue for us. If there's no property owner yet on that lot, there's not an issue. So what my point has always been, why don't we take care of this problem now instead of accepting we'll only be in the whole $400 in this lot rather than the $600 in the past?
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I understand, but we're not covering the deficit here. I'm saying there's a number out there that's clearly not being met to provide the services we need to provide in the city.
But these are already approved subdivisions. They can either come in without this and we get nothing, or we can take this step which facilitates their annexation at some point in the future. So it would be cutting off our nose to spite our face if we were to wait for perfection and give up almost, or
we already cut off our nose because we didn't take care of this.
Our predecessors did, yeah, and we don't need to double down on not collecting enough. This is a way to collect almost all, and then we will do the study. And like I was saying, and we discussed with the tax sharing agreement, perhaps when we get the information from BAE, we will have at least some of the information that then we can drill down more in a more focused study to find out what other impacts the city would have.
Do we have any speaker cards?
Well, I just...
Sorry. Councilmember Friend, go ahead.
I just, in the words that Marty would use, once that's etched in stone, it will never change. So we'll never get more money out of this. So if we go into the fact knowing that the number we're asking them for is not the correct number.
As a point of clarification, when new maps come in, Councilman Friend, the condition on those maps through the Planning Commission will be that you're required to annex into CFD4 and CFD whatever this new one may be in the future. Just because you're taking this action right now doesn't mean that everything in the future is going to this one. It depends on what condition we place on that tentative map in the future.
At the time it's approved.
Yeah. Does that make sense? No? A little bit more?
We're limited in we can't raise some of these impact fees
Because they've already
after
been
the action.
That's correct, after the property's been sold. But before that,
No,
there
no,
will still
not-
be a vote of the lots, as I understood that.
Right, there will be
explanation in the past.
right, but if we wait for also when a tentative map is approved, that sets the time of the mitigation fees that can be applied to a particular development. So a subdivision is approved, and then you add a later fee. You cannot apply that to it.
Unless the builder decides he's all right with it.
No, he doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to, but unless.
But there's nothing we can do to, I mean, there's no coercive effect we can do. I mean, and it would be illegal if we were to take some step to force them to do it. To, pay a greater fee than they have already had committed to them by the city and that they committed when they did it.
Okay. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, the first speaker is Keith Snow, who writes on his card that he is against raising taxes.
And another one is what we you have in place before annexation that were listening against Sebastian County, where Bradson saying too, it may not listen, but then Mayor and new council and my friend, you guys told the developers in our city to it's called gray water tanks. Remember in every house now and before new development, they're getting build any unit. It has to have a gray water
Mr. Snow,
tank
this is not
in
about
the unit.
Mr. Snow. This is not about the gray water.
I know,
It's
but
about a
I know,
CFD fees, and we're talking.
I know, but I'm about the tax, about raising the fee and all that.
It's not a tax either.
Yeah, it's not a tax. This is community facility district fee.
I know, but the community district fee, but in development, that like I said too, but every household, you said they get in development, there should be a gray water tank in the house. I'm for what you can do anyway, because you're okay anyway, but we lose that anyway. But you guys made that thing in here in the chamber, in every unit, every new development, NCH or not, every developer has to put a gray water tank in the house, in the unit. Thank you. You made that decision. You guys all voted on it. That one's right there too.
Thank you.
Marty Richmond.
Marty Richmond from Hollister. Thank you. I wonder if I could start by asking the staff what CPI we are using. Is it the San Francisco, so on and so
Yeah,
forth?
San
That's
Francisco, San Jose Bay Area.
Okay. So I have comments on both sides of this argument. One side is we should have some idea of what it costs. And let me tell you, in all fairness, you can't do that by saying this is what it costs now and this is how many houses we have here. Because the truth of the matter is, as a 20-year resident, I'm not paying my fair share, and neither are any of the other 20-year residents. And this is for the public, and I understand the sound may be gone. That's too bad. I'm just getting sick and tired of the people who are paying nothing, complaining about other people who are, quote, not paying enough. Okay? I mean, the people under Prop 13 who bought their houses, I missed the 95 cutoff. I was in 96, so I got the raise. People who've had their houses here for 20 years and haven't moved them, they're not paying anything, basically. And they didn't have any Melrose taxes, most of them, or they ran out. They had them and they sunsetted in 20 years. And they're not paying anything. And they sit around all day complaining that the new people don't pay enough. They're not supporting the police department. There's no way their property taxes are paying for the police. We've got to use part of the money from our sales taxes to support the police. We all know that. That's why we have Measure E. And we use money from other places to support the police and fire because we don't have enough. So, you know, if you're going to do that with the old residents, you got to give the new residents the same deal. You got to say, hey, we got to look at how much sales tax you're going to put in the community, which is going to be a lot. As far as the police cars and the engines and all that capital that we need really badly, they're paying for that. And if they're not, that's our fault, not theirs, because we didn't do the impact fees properly. That's the range for that. There's no argument about that. Nobody takes you to court and says you can't have an impact fee. We know you can. You got to keep the study up. That's our fault as a group. And the final thing is, when you look forward to what they're going to pay, the truth of the matter is they don't have to pay very much to keep up. The reason is we've changed our retirement plan. We've changed our hiring plan. We've changed all that. And when you look for, and they're going to get stuck with the CPI from San Francisco, and I guarantee you that our wages are not going up any faster and our housing costs aren't going up any faster in San Francisco because you can't buy anything in San Francisco. So we're making out like bandits by charging them CPIs in San Francisco no matter what anybody tells you. I know because I've looked at the rates. So, you know, we tell people you live in Hollister, but you have to pay San Francisco rates. That's ridiculous. So all I'm going to say is both sides need to move this on somehow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council?
I can make another quick comment. I just want to remind you that CFD number 2 already exists. This action that we're taking is reestablishing or updating the process to get projects into it. And the number is a updated number based on the CPI updates.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion?
So the motion tonight is the first read by title only and move to, or you want the resolution passed? And then it has to come back to us in 40 days?
Yeah. It's just a
So
resolution.
move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. Thank you very much. Motion carries 3-1.
Thank you.
We'll move forward to item 52. This time I'm going to recuse myself. I had a business relationship with this company, so I'm going to pass the gavel on to the closest to me. That would be Councilmember Friend.
So we're looking at item number 52, annexation agreement. Do we have a staff report?
Well, since no one's jumping up in the planning department, this is one of those ad hoc individual tax sharing agreements. The applicant, Executive Director Alfred Diaz-Infante, is here. We had a situation, or he had a situation, where some of the public financing to build an affordable housing development and then some affordable by design market rate homes depended on beginning construction this summer. And rather than lose that, the county was willing to interpret its the tax sharing agreement in such a way that the 40-unit apartment would not get 40 separate annexation fees, which would have made it very problematic to build affordable when you're paying, north of $10,000 a door for an annexation fee. They are, however, agreeing to pay the annexation fee on the, I believe, 13 market rate and the 1 manager's unit. With that change and that agreement, Barbara Thompson is taking it to the next Board of Supervisors meeting for approval. If we agree to that same discount, Cheesebuck can go ahead with building the affordable housing, which is something both the city and the county councils and boards of supervisors, planning commissions feel is much needed. Construction has begun, and this would allow the project to get the financing and move forward with completion. So it's our recommendation that we accept this individual or ad hoc tax sharing agreement rather than making them pay under protest, which they probably just wouldn't even do the project themselves. And so
what is the established rate of the affordable housing? We don't know that yet.
Is zero. They're not paying any fee on the tax sharing. So they're building 40 affordable units without an annexation fee.
But the market rate units, what is the agreement on those?
To pay the existing rate and to allow them to pay now rather than after July 1st to pay early so that they save approximately $1,000.
And the current rate and everything would be under the old tax sharing agreement.
Correct.
To where the city would only get 25% of it.
25%, right, and none of the fee. But that was felt to be okay because it's the existing status quo, and it does satisfy a need that we have heard, the staff has heard very clearly from the council that we need to be providing more quality, affordable projects and apartments rental because they'll stay affordable for their entire useful lives rather than being a one-time only item.
Okay. Are there any other questions of the staff, from staff? We'll open a public hearing. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, sir. The first speaker is Keith Snow, who would like to know more.
Well, I just got a little bit no more. But for housing, I'm for it. I'm for housing. And I think I was here before the one to come in. I went how to go was here. How much is the unit, each unit? Is it for sale? Like how much square footage is it? Yeah, because I want to invest some money on buying some units. So are these for sale? Ray. And then Dave, engineer. And Brad. Is it for sale or what? And the company's here too. How much every unit is it? If it's for housing, I like to know because I want to buy some units.
Did you understand the question?
Yeah. We usually don't engage during public comment, so when he's done, we'll answer the question.
All right. Okay, and then keeps on walmart.com, right? So, and the Facebook, right? So, send me an email, the developer, and lie about some, I want to buy some investment units. Thank you. Don't forget, don't lose out on sales tax. And your mirror will excuse itself. It's involved in the deal.
No, we're not going to give me an email.
So, if Keith will allow me to just answer the question, it's a component. It has a component of both. It has a single family component, and then there's also a multifamily rental component as well.
Are there any other speaker cards?
Yes, sir. Marty Richmond.
Marty Richmond Falls. I certainly have no problem with the county foregoing their $10,000 and change fee that is so far been declared illegal. I have no problem with them foregoing it. And if CHISPA wants to pay for the $10,000 or something per regular unit to assuage their hurt feelings, I have no problem with that either. I was just wondering, in relationship to a previous discussion, whether or not these all will be annexed into a CFD. Is the answer yes or no? And I need an answer. Yes? Just a yes or no?
I believe they will be, as all annexations.
So
The market rate one.
I just want you, yeah, well, I don't think we have an exception for when we do a CFD for affordable housing. So the point is, right, we don't have an exception. So the point is, and I'm not driving a nail home, I just want you to remember, you raise the rates on CFDs, you raise the rates on the people who live in affordable housing. So you see all these issues just snowball. It's just really complex, and I know, I'm not talking down to you. I know you realize it, but a lot of times we lose sight of that. We just go, okay, it's an affordable unit, and then all of a sudden somebody moves in and they get their $84 sewer fee bill, and they get their $422 a year police and fire bill, and they get their water bill from the state for the blue valve, and they get the new water bill that's coming from the state for the holes that the state's putting in the mountain up there to ship water to Los Angeles. And all of a sudden they find out they bought themselves a bullet train because now they're property owners, and they bought their, it was going to be $295 billion, now it's $600 billion or something. And all of a sudden you're going, well, I own the house, but I can't pay my mortgage anymore because I got to pay my taxes first, or they take my house away from me. So I'm just pointing out this is the kind of thing. That's why it needs some thought. We need to bifurcate it. We have to say, if we have affordable housing, what should be that share? If we have $1 million home, what should be that share? And we have to do it in accordance with what the current law is. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marty. Any others?
No, sir.
No more? Are there any other comments from the public? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Is there any comments from the council?
Yeah, so just a couple comments. I think that moving forward, first of all, I'm in favor of the resolution. But moving forward, I don't see a whole lot of opportunities where the city's not going to have to do something a little goofy or different to get multifamily units, just under the current circumstances. So I think this is probably maybe the lightest thing that we'll have to do in terms of getting these units built. I think a lot of the heavy lifting's been done by other people and other agencies. I think Mr. Richmond brings up an interesting point about the CFD, and I'm not even exactly sure who ends up paying for that when it's a affordable unit that is for rent, because that's probably the government one way or another who's going to end up paying that, I would imagine, if it's an affordable unit.
Well, for instance, Eden Housing, that's what it is, right? Eden Housing. Their property management portion of the business pays the CFD money at the end of the year with their property tax.
But where does most of that revenue come from if it's affordable?
Oh,
it's
the
not
rents.
coming.
Yes, no, it's calculated as part of the rents.
Rents and subsidies.
Subsidies.
Yeah.
So the government, one way or another.
The rents pay most of it.
It's not the RDA anymore.
Yeah, so just another little something to think about.
And certainly that's a policy decision, and it sounds like Brad just gave me the wink that if the council decides that in the future that affordable rental housing with a 55-year restriction is going to be exempt from the CFD districts, we can do that.
How can you
friends.
do that when somebody else who's paying for everything is paying for more than?
Well,
it does.
again,
I guess philosophically, it doesn't make sense to me at all. So I don't. If the council wants to have that conversation, great. But I don't want to have that conversation. I think it's a terrible joke that would even come up. I like the fact that the county's willing to work with a project to set up their own annexation agreement. I'm hoping that this isn't the only one, and that just because of the circumstances, which are really good circumstances, that nobody else gets the light of day on this, because it's going to take a long time for us to figure out the tax sharing part. And I know there's probably a line out the door of people that are waiting to have a talk with whoever at county staff signed on this deal. So I'm hoping that other people get a chance to have that conversation as well. I'm really impressed by the fact that Chispa was able to get this done this fast. I think there's something to be said about that because they have a pretty tight timeline, I'm sure, and we don't really build the city, but I'm sure the county doesn't really do anything very quickly ever. So that's nice to see. I guess that's my comments for this one.
Thank you. Marty, Mickey?
There goes city and county cooperation at our joint meeting.
Hey, we're on the. I put us on the same level.
Well, thank you. So are these 40 affordable units, does that include the rentals units?
Yeah, those are the rental units.
They are the rental units.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to echo Councilmember Clower's comments that, it's good that the county is looking into the fact that this community, not only the city, but the county, is in dire need of affordable housing. I know in having that special session with the planning department a while back, there were some figures that came out where we are not there. Definitely we are not there. And so in looking at this, I support it. I support to move forward, and I know that there's just a lot of other work that we're going to have to consider and look at. But the matter of the fact is that what happens if we stop the work, if we stop that housing, then I think we're going to be either farther behind the times. So that would be my commentary.
Thank you. Well, I kind of agree with everybody that I support the project because I thought it was an excellent idea to build a combination of market rate homes that kind of help build the low income housing and the affordable housing. And I would not want this to be something that would cause that to stop. But I also agree with what Marty is saying, is that maybe we need to look at these special circumstances, affordable housing projects like this, in a little different way. It's kind of difficult to do because the services are the same, the costs are the same. How are we going to fit that in their financing? And that's going to be difficult to do. We're going to have to look at these very difficult situations. I think they should be applauded for what they've done with this project and made it almost self-funding because of the way they did this. But I wouldn't want to see us stop this because it's already in the process. So like the previous argument we had, they're already in the process.
Yeah, some cities have done where they've waived certain fees in order to encourage, and maybe it's a subsidy, but when the price of a permit becomes 45, 50,000, and some cities are double, triple that, it's hard to be affordable when those impact fees are there.
I agree.
And it's whereas you could build a house for much less than what the impact fees are in some jurisdictions.
Yeah, when it gets to be more expensive to build the affordable housing than it does to build the market rate, then we're really in trouble. And that's not far down the road if we don't look at these somewhere a little differently. So what is the pleasure of the council?
I'd like to move to approve resolution number 2016-62 and resolution number 2016-63.
Excuse me, Councilmember Clower, would you be willing to also recommend that the tax sharing agreement attached to the exhibit also be approved?
Let's add that on. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We'll move on to item, we did 53. Sewer rates, okay. I'll give him back his gavel. Take your gavel.
Okay. Move forward to item 63.
63.
F53.
F53. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Real quickly, the item that you have before you is just a simple resolution authorizing staff to release an RFP/Q to fiscal consultants to help the city analyze their current sewer rates and current sewer impact fees. As you are very well aware, the City Council recently refinanced the bonds that we have on the existing plant. We've seen significant savings on an annual basis in debt service. And additionally, the council has made some capital improvements to the physical plant, to the plant itself, to allow for additional capacity, just because the trains now out there run way more efficient than the ones that we originally put in 2008. So again, staff is looking at seeking a professional to help us determine what the current rates should be, the current monthly rates, and then also address the sewer impact fee. We expect this to be done. I'd like to get it done as quickly as possible. However, I want to make sure that we have we meet all of our bond covenants, and we don't get in a situation where a year from now I'm trying to figure out how to raise the rates back up again. So I want to just make sure that we have the right people working on this, so that the citizens of this community reap the benefits of your actions, and then the new development that goes in and obviously continues to pay their fair share, but maybe not at a rate as high as it once was. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay. Any questions from council?
So what you're asking for is an RFP to get that consultant on.
Yeah, we've used a company called Raftellus in the past. I think you're familiar with them. Sanjay Gar did help do the water rates. That type of company, I'm not suggesting that it's going to be them, but somebody like them. Muni Financial does it. There's a few companies out there that I'd like to have a conversation with.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, sir. Keith Snow asks about impact fees. And are they raising rates?
For one, my student bill's high, so I'm figuring I'm okay with it, right? But not fair that people that already can't afford it, because I can afford it. But why are we gonna spend money for a consultant? We should avoid for consultant and say the C fund. We need that's one thing that we need to avoid consultants. And for one, with this highest bill ever, I think I went there to George Washington, over there, they're high over there too. So the point is, right, it's very high over here too, so the bill still would be the highest ever. But for example, now you can spend with taxpayer money or fund for a consultant to overlook the bills that are in place already, like everybody. I'm on 150, close to that per month. And now you lower a little bit, but it's on it's over 135 and 37 months. So the point's like the point's right. I avoid raising harm consultants and to overlook things when that's wasting money, I figure. So I want to cancel. Overlook this because you can okay anyway. But where since says that me not pay a high fee per month, and I've been paying for years, so I'm not getting and I should get discounts, but about equal to fair share, paying like everyone else. On the mortgage getting discount, but no, I'm not. So I want you guys to like. Now want the citizens, taxpayers pay for a consultant to overlook things. I think that's wrong and really embarrassing. Thank you. President is Officer Keesner.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Just a couple of corrections. The sewer bill is not $150; it's $85. And the reason we'd be doing this study so we can lower, Mr. Snow, just so we're clear for the public, the reason we'd be doing this is so we can lower the monthly cost for the sewer to our residents, and we want to do this right so we don't have to come back and raise it, and that's why you use people that actually specialize in this industry so we don't make a mistake. We just refinance our bonds, so we're saving $1.7 million a year because of what we did, so we want to make sure the residents receive that savings also. Thank you very much, Mr. Snow.
Marty Richmond.
Mr. Snow, please.
Marty Richmond again from Hollister. I want to thank the city council, the city staff, for the job they've done on the wastewater plant. At the time the wastewater plant was approved, people, I wasn't the only one, but people like me who went out on a limb and supported it based on a very lousy history that we had on doing these things. We went out on a limb, and you guys have really delivered on this one. The price of the plant came in significantly less than it was originally bid for. The original bill estimate for the monthly bill was going to be about $120, somewhere in that range, and we managed to keep it down to 80-something. You've added capacity. You got over a big hump when the recession came. We were counting on 1,000 new units to pick up the slack, and we didn't get them, but we managed to get through that. You've added a new technology there. You changed the way that enterprise fund, basically the people it uses to do the work and what that costs. And I can't think of almost anything where we've stumbled on this. And this has been an enormous project. And people tend to say, what have you done for me lately? Because that's the way the world goes around. What have you done for me lately? But I tell you, I really appreciate it. And I remember sitting here at this podium and saying I lived in a third world. And unless you've seen your sewage run down the street, in the middle of the street, you don't appreciate what you have when you have good hygiene in your community. And obviously, if you look the way I dress, I'm not a hygiene addict. But I like to keep my house reasonably clean. I like to have clean water. And I like to have the sewer operating, the trash picked up, and so on and so forth. So you've done a terrific job on this. I certainly support what you're doing now about getting professional help to look at it. I think in the long run, as we have to tackle more financial problems, you should seriously consider hiring a financial analyst. And I don't know what the organization chart would look like. I don't know. I would like it to be independent. I don't know if it should work for Brett, if it should work for the city manager. But time and again on each of these projects, every project, one of the first things we say is, what is that going to cost? And do we know that's going to make it? We talked about it in buyouts the other day. I know it's not related to this item, but we talked about it. And this, so you look down the road and think about a financial analyst, a good one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Councilmember Luna?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of get an idea what the time frame would be to go out and get this, send out this RFP, the return, and finally a report to the city council or action.
So what will happen is we'll probably start preparing the RFP tomorrow. Hopefully by Friday or first part of next week, we'd be able to release it. These folks are used to doing it, so it could be a fairly short turnaround, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. The work itself may take a little bit longer, but hopefully within the next few months we should have something that we can deliver to the citizens.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 4-0 vote. Move to item G61, reports from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Luna.
I don't have a report.
Councilmember Friend.
Yeah, I have one report. I went to one fire commission meeting on the 5th, and we went through the chief's process on replacing vehicles, so the list of vehicles that need to be replaced. We had an update on progress on Fire Station 4. Is it Fire Station 4 or 5? 3, I'm sorry. 3. Can't remember which ones are which. and the time frame for that, and then we went through the chief's plan on the use and resources. And I think all of you got the email on his plan from the chief. Did you send that to all of us? Yeah.
The PowerPoint slide, yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's all the report.
Okay. Councilmember Clower.
I did not have any meetings.
I had intergovernmental, and we were discussing the needs assessment for the county library in the near future, and how those numbers, so we can come up with the right impact fees to keep moving forward on that project. That's all I have. We'll go on to item G62, informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Luna.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended a luncheon with the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership luncheon at San Juan Oaks on Wednesday, May 11th, and it was also sponsored by the San Benito County Economic Development Corporation Business Council. Very informative, a lot of information on the partnerships. It was very good. I also, on Saturday, the 14th, I attended the election forum sponsored by San Benito County Elections Department in the Board of Supervisors chambers, which was very interesting, again, because of the changes on the ballot this year. And I would really encourage everyone to actually study your ballots carefully, and also contact the elections
Mr.
department
Snow,
if there's any questions on that.
Go ahead.
And for the past 6 years, I've had the opportunity to go into the high school and do a presentation on financial literacy for seniors. So I was able to do that on Wednesday the 11th as well in the morning, and it was very interesting to be in a classroom with 29 students that at times don't have a clue what a budget is. But, you know, they are going on to college, universities, and we need to help them out. So I had a good time there with the students. But also, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see if we could get an update for the next meeting regarding the rally agreement and the payment that is coming up, and also the business license process. I realize it's only 16 days to June 1st. So I think it's time that maybe we received an update on that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Friend.
Yeah, I have one item on May 21st. You will see ladies from the American Legion sitting at most of the major shopping centers, and they will be asking for donations and giving out the little poppies. And I expect everybody to reach deep in their pocket and put all the cash you can put into those buckets and get your little poppy, because that supports the American Legion, supports all the disabled vets, the veterans, and a lot of city functions for the nonprofits. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Flower.
Yeah, so first I'd like to recommend that to everybody, if you've moved, double check if your voter registration has been updated. I moved, mine hadn't been updated. It was a good thing I caught it today. And the only reason I knew was because I vote by mail and my ballot hadn't showed up. So double check that. You can go to the California Secretary of State's website, and it's pretty easy. I also attended the Economic Development Corporation SWOT analysis workshop that took place here in the City Council's chambers. It was really interesting, kind of a major cross-section of business people, people who work in nonprofits, and just kind of get an idea of their thoughts in terms of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for the county. Also ran in the 5K foot pursuit for the Police Explorers program, and want to give a kudos to Chief Westrick as well as everybody who helped him with that. It's a really neat event. Really good number of attendees, at least from my perspective. People were excited to be there, and I don't know if I've ever been at another event where people were just excited to see people finishing the race, which was pretty neat. So it was a good group of people who showed up for that. I'd like to, I guess, direct staff or whatever it may be called to start talking about a joint use facility for a park at Lad Lane. It's going to take a while, I imagine, but we can see where that goes. And then I'd also like to direct staff to look at putting something on the agenda in the next couple meetings for an RFP for Parks Master Plan. I think, well, I know that District 3 is lacking, so if we have to pay somebody to tell us that it's lacking before we can do something, then I'd like to do that. And that's it.
Thank you.
Never heard that.
Just want to say thank you to the Farm Bureau and Bonita Link. They put on the candidates forum. It went off really well here, and I must say I was proud of all the candidates that were there, that they kept it very civil and respectful to each other. So that's a nice thing to see happening in our community. Also I visited the Hollister Prep School here at next to R. Hardin. Really doing some amazing things there. Their test scores are through the roof, almost higher than any other school in the county. So they're doing something right over there, and hopefully they're going to be able to spread that, and we'll get higher test scores throughout the community. As far as the items I'd like to see come up or discuss, I think it's time we have a discussion of controlling our growth and revisiting Measure U and seeing what we can do to make sure it doesn't get ahead of us again, and plan for the a more smooth growth rather than the ups and downs that we've been experiencing over the past few decades, and to make sure that we are covering all our costs on all new homes so that we can finally get out of this hole in the city. City Manager?
Just a couple of things real quickly. I personally want to thank all the members of this community. Over the last weekend, we had several street closures, road closures, and I didn't get a whole lot of complaints, and I hope nobody else did, but I do know that sometimes it gets a little bit frustrating, but I do appreciate all of their patience. We did have a good event with the run, and we also had a movie shot in town over the weekend, so hopefully that does well for us. I would like to share with Councilperson Luna on May 11th, I think it was last Wednesday during our budget. The promoters were here in town. They did give us a check for half of the money. They expect to give us the other half. When did they say? Next couple of weeks or so?
Yeah,
so,
next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we should be pretty good in that situation where they'll meet their June 1st deadline. So, but we'll make sure we will report immediately on that. And then finally, I hope the council may be available to have a study session on next Monday, May 23rd. A couple of items. One is escaping me, but I need to have a pretty good conversation with the council regarding impact fees. As you know, we have a traffic impact fee that's about to increase substantially come July 1. So I want to make sure that we have our policy set. I'll give you what our current policy is and maybe some alternatives for additional policies. And then I think I mentioned at the budget study session that the Office of Education, Crystal Lamano, would like to give you just a brief I told her that it couldn't be more than 10 minutes, presentation on one of her new programs that she's actually trying to roll out. So if that's okay with everybody, that's what I'm shooting for. And that's it.
Thank you very much. City Attorney?
Nothing. I was going to report on the meeting between joint meeting with city and county. Anyone to comment on that if and when that gets set.
All right. Thank you. Chief?
Yeah, another great weekend. The Pursuit, our first one, actually sold out. It was kind of nice. I'm involved in about 4 different runs over the years, and this one was really nice to put together. I'm glad that our staff was able to do it. It met its goal of raising some funds for the families of fallen officers and also for our Explorer program. We expect to be bigger and better next year. It kind of went off without a hitch. I appreciate city staff for helping us put it together and quickly taking down the barricades as well. So it was a really good, nice team effort. Also this weekend, I attended the California State Junior High School Rodeo Championships. I was proud to report that we had actually a bunch of kids from City of Hollister and our county there that were representing us. In fact, 2 of them are actually going to the Nationals. They did really well. So something we were really proud of our own homegrown kids doing well at the national level. And I expect that they'll actually win it, actually. So that's it.
Excellent. City Clerk.
I just wanted to remind everybody and make a correction to Billy's report. We're not able to meet on Monday the 23rd, so we're going to meet on Tuesday the 24th. It's going to be at 6 o'clock. And the item you couldn't remember, Billy, was the draft ordinance for medical marijuana.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. So
that little thing.
There's too many jokes to go with that.
So our next meeting will be Tuesday, the 24th at 6 o'clock.
All right, thank you. All right, items H, I, J, and K, there's no business.
Move for adjournment.
Motion, is there a second? Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.